The family of a slain police officer remember him as a loving man. That story straight ahead.
The Prime Minister weighs in on that tragic murder of a police officer.
H.O. Nash remembers Inspector Blatch.
Our News is brought to you by Alive.
Welcome to Our News and thanks for joining us. I'm Kyle Joaquin. As police hunt for the shooter who shot and killed Police Inspector Carlos Blatch in front of his daughter outside a schoolyard Wednesday, those closest to him are remembering him as a loving man. Jared Higgs spoke with the officer's emotional brother as he and other family members prepared to identify his body.
I called him yesterday and as soon as I called him, he said, "I was just about to call you."
As the tears stream down his face, Marcus Blatch remembers his days growing up in Mangrove Key Andros with his big brother Carlos. Just moments before his life was snuffed away, the brothers shared one last phone call.
And he said he's there just trying, he's consuming work and he's trying to knock it out. And I said, okay, bye, we'll talk later. And half an hour later, I got a call that news media saying that my speculated that he'd been shot. I tried to call his phone, just got the voicemail, and from then everything just came to be. It was said to be that same. The story was true.
According to police, Blatch was picking up his son from H.O. Nash Junior School when he was ordered out of his car by a gunman. The assailant then shot him as his young daughter looked on from the backseat of his blue Hyundai Elantra. The gunman then made off with the vehicle, but not before Blatch's daughter was able to escape unharmed and call for help. The police officer of 23 years was taken to hospital, where he later died.
Yeah, four kids in total, 4 kids.
How were
they? I guess they trying their best. Their parents are trying their best to let them understand what it is that's going on, and I guess they faring pretty well.
Police spent the late night hours conducting an island-wide search for his killer and released this composite sketch of the suspect. They found the officer's stolen car, the shooter ditched nearby off Farrington Road. The career officer was well known for his role as aide-de-camp to successive governors general. A statement released by the Office of the Governor General says Her Excellency is deeply saddened by this event. Inspector Blatch worked very closely with the Governor General in all state matters. The statement adds that Blatch always took great care to pass on his expertise to other staff, among whom he was highly regarded. Blatch was also heavily involved in his church, New Birth Deliverance Kingdom Ministries. The church's senior pastor, Practon Patton, says the last encounter he had with his fellow police officer was a touching one.
Right here at this ministry, right here, the power of God moved so mightily upon him. I didn't know when he grabbed the mic. Carlos sang for approximately 2 hours on Sunday. Under the anointing of God in this house, I talk about souls were saved. Souls were slain under the anointing of God.
Now, as I mentioned earlier, the Blatch family does hail from Andros, and that's where his mother still lives today. However, whenever she comes to New Providence, she stays at this blue house right behind me in Yellow Elder Gardens. Now, she was too distraught to speak to us on camera. However, her son Marcus remembered his brother very fondly.
We could talk to each other about any and everything. He was a family man, like every other human. Walk straight and narrow, but even walking straight and narrow, sometimes he stumbled. But in his stumbling, he didn't stay down. He got up, dusted himself off, and moved on.
The younger Blatch brother says it's impossible to single out what he will miss most about his big brother.
I'm gonna miss everything most about him. It was no one particular thing I could just say I would miss, but I was just missing him on the whole. It's no one particular thing.
Blatch was 45 years old. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jared Higgs.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Hubert Minnis urged police to stop at nothing to catch Blatch's killer, even if it means going to the pits of hell. Minnis told reporters he won't allow the person responsible to have offspring that may come out like him, adding what he wants to do with criminals, he can't say. Jasmine Brown has that.
The Prime Minister did not mince words today as he called Blatch's murder a senseless tragedy, adding that he's instructed the police to track down the suspect, even if it takes them to the pits of hell.
I've spoken to the Commissioner of Police this morning, and I told him that he must allow no obstacle to pursue this killer, and whatever is necessary, he must use his force, the assistance of the defense force, and whatever is available to track him. Even if he goes to the bounds of hell, he must be tracked and brought to justice.
Speaking with reporters on the sidelines of a tree planting ceremony at Gambia Primary, Minnis reacted to the murder of an admired police officer and the gunman responsible for his tragic death.
I hope he's listening to me. Whatever is necessary will bring him to justice. He will not rest in this Bahamas. And we will not allow him to have offspring which may possibly be like him.
Dr. Minnis, who labeled Blatch a true gentleman, said not only did he work with Blatch, who was also the Governor General's aide, he also knew Blatch personally, as their paths crossed nearly every morning while he exercised on the Cable Beach Strip. Noting that Blatch was killed in the presence of his young daughter, Minnis said it only proved the shooter has no respect for life or Bahamian society. Minnis said given those circumstances, he believes the court should handle the alleged killer harshly and bail should not be an option.
I would hope that the courts deal with it quickly so that there is no bail whatsoever to give him another opportunity to do this thing again.
The Prime Minister also hit out at criminals in general, saying there is no one who hates them more than him.
I am at the extreme right. Just leave it like that. I am at the extreme right. I hate criminals. Full stop. I am at the extreme right.
But are we doing anything in the country
I do not
to move
tolerate.
towards that
I must
penalty?
work within the framework of the law. But if you allow me to work outside the law and that is legal, believe me, you'll see a changed man.
And he did not stop there as he reiterated his support for capital punishment. He went a step further as he commended punishments doled out in Middle Eastern countries like Saudi Arabia.
When it comes to things like murder, I am at the extreme end. When it comes to criminality, I am at the extreme end. What I would want to say, I would want to do with murderers and criminals, I can't say. But what I can say is that countries like Saudi Arabia and those sometimes, they may be on the right track sometime. But I'm not saying that I support it. I'm saying they may be on the right track sometime.
69 people have been murdered in the Bahamas so far this year. Reporting for Our News, I'm Jasmine Brown.
All right, thanks, Jasmine. Well, on the heels of the horrific incident that unfolded just outside H.O. Nash Junior High School's campus, school officials sprung into action this morning, arranging grief counseling sessions for those classmates of the police officer's son and other students who may have wandered off to the crime scene as they left school. Jillian Gray has that.
It was a somber scene at H.O. Nash this morning as the school remembered Inspector Blatch and offered counseling not only to his son's classmates, but also the students who witnessed the horrible tragedy.
The teacher, Mrs. Simmons, she said that Carlos was a child and that he had lost a father, and that now the school family has to embrace him even more because that is what we do at HO, we are family.
BUT President Belinda Wilson was also on campus providing support for teachers and students. She stood in the 9th grade homeroom of Carlos Jr. as his 32 classmates received grief counseling. Wilson told Our News that the incident hit close to home as she knew and interacted with Inspector Blatch on various occasions. In the wake of this tragedy, Wilson called on the government to take appropriate action.
Each day we talk about murder or crime or deaths, but I'm hoping that the government would really get the legislation into Parliament as quickly as possible that deals with the worst of the worst. And if there are any impediments to that being passed, that they would move swiftly to eradicate the impediments. But today I just want to say to the family of Officer Blatch and to the family of H.O. Nash that the union is here.
Both Samuels and Wilson remembered Inspector Blatch as a gentleman.
He is one of the parents who we could always call upon to do anything that was needed for the school.
But he's been an officer and a gentleman, stellar person, good father, and it's just sad.
Though the tragic incident unfolded right outside the school's campus, Principal Simmons stressed the actual campus is relatively safe. However, she noted that there are safety measures that students should adhere to. A number of parents were waiting for their children when the tragedy happened. Officers were at the school early Thursday morning, ensuring that students, staff, and parents feel safe. When Our News returned to the scene this afternoon, parents were still a bit shaken.
My son always used to be at that spot if I come a little late, but not that day, not yesterday. So I was glad that I came early to pick him up.
Yeah, as a parent, I still feel safe, even though the incident happened, but I still be a little concerned. You know, they could have a little more security.
So sad, you know, and then they come in an area where it's surrounded by children. You know, it is very sad.
Reporting for Our News, I'm Jillian Gray.
In other news, as government moves to finalize the sale of the Grand Lucayan Resort and quickly secure a buyer, the Prime Minister insisted today that no potential investor will force his administration into anything.
There's no investor will put a gun to my head. None. Full stop.
The government is purchasing the resort for $65 million, $30 million upfront and $35 million on a 3.5-year government-guaranteed mortgage, which will require parliamentary approval. The sale is expected to be finalized on September 19th. Minna says more details will be revealed in the House of Assembly next week.
Wednesday, you'll get a communication. You'll be informed as to why we had purchased such a hotel. It is our job to keep the Bahamian economy going.
Well, Minnis was also asked about that promised investigation into the turmoil that has engulfed Bahamas Power and Light in recent months. Though he said very little about that probe, like whether it has actually been launched and who is conducting it, the Prime Minister said his administration is committed to ensuring that an investigation is completed. However, Minister did say he is concerned about the rising cost of electricity, which he likened to a mortgage.
Investigations are going on, so I would not want to preempt any investigators.
But you're watching closely from...
I and the rest of the Bahamas are watching. Electricity is too expensive in this country. Individuals are paying 2 mortgages. The electricity rate is just as high as the mortgages. That is not fair. That has to be resolved. Both must come down. The mortgage from the electricity and the mortgage of the home. Both must come down, and that's our mandate, and we will bring them down.
Still to come on Our News, Bahamians living in the Carolinas brace for Hurricane Florence. The details are after this break.